We're always super grateful to have the instruction through VUB. I've never had a student who was unhappy to be in a class. With that in mind, they also tend to be super positive, come to class, really upbeat, ready to learn. And that's an inspiration for me to be positive too, because it's not always that way when you teach. Veterans almost always have a strong work ethic. They come here ready to work, ready to learn, and just ready to be better. I love that veterans typically have a very diverse perspective. You know, they're not just right out of high school. They've done things a lot of people haven't. They've seen all kinds of interesting things. So the perspectives are never a dull moment. And then another really great thing about veterans is that they tend to be really good listeners. And part of that I know is just from being in the military. I do try to go beyond just the basic academics, certainly. I try to make every lesson at least memorable to the students, and that could be as simple as just folding a funny story or anecdote into a lesson. Could be something like just examples I reuse over and over to help with memory. Like I talk about Prince, the musician, a lot, or I talk about the controversial topic of people eating pineapple on their pizza or not, and that tends to stick in people's minds, very much so, yeah. And then I'm always working on my curriculum. There's always something to fix, always something that can improve for later, or I think like what works, what doesn't work as well, and then I make notes of what to improve, and then I change it every time I teach a class. When you teach writing, there's always the temptation to either go down a rabbit hole with some topic, or kind of explore these side fringe topics, or teach aspects of writing that I'm passionate about, that not a lot of other people are passionate about, but that doesn't always really help the students, so I resist that temptation, right? I try really hard to stay on topics that I know are going to benefit students later. Okay, so I make a big effort to focus on real-world applications in writing. I try really hard to focus on the basics of things like parts of speech, sentence structure, paragraph development, stuff like that. And then I make a very big point of folding into my curriculum topics like resumes, cover letters, professional communication, life skills, study skills, emails, things like that. And I do keep in mind, like I said, that my VUB students are not just fresh out of high school. They do have that different perspective, like I mentioned, okay? And with that in mind, I think they almost have kind of an advantage because they have more life experience, and they've seen more of real life, and oftentimes they know how writing enters into real life outside of just the classroom, like a high schooler who may have only ever written anything in a classroom. Okay, and I try to take advantage of that, knowing that they have that background. Right, I have lectures, but not for an hour or 2 hours at a time. I don't want the whole class to be about me, because it's not. So I set aside, first of all, I should say, I set aside discussion time in every lesson, like throughout every lesson, where I pause and open up the whole room, this room, for discussion. And with that in mind, I try to create an environment that's very open and fosters communication, discussion, so people are ready to enter those discussions. And then I make an effort to make sure students online can participate too. I have it open completely for questions and Q&A. I never just shut down I never tell anyone to be quiet until I'm done, right? There's always room for Q&A. And when we're talking about examples of things like parts of speech or papers you've written in the past, I open up the room I ask for like examples, I ask everyone to participate, and then they can relate that to things they already knew, because, I mean, certainly they have some experience with English already. They're not coming here completely ignorant of the topics. And then, of course, I encourage everyone not to be shy. I strongly encourage everyone to come out of their shell a little bit, and then I make sure they know it's a judgment-free zone, that no one will ever judge anyone else in my writing class for not knowing something or getting something wrong, or maybe just saying the wrong thing once or twice. No one will ever chastise my students for that. More on that in the future, and then I think about what they enjoy the most, and then I incorporate that in the future, right? And then I think about where students in general tend to shine, what they do best, and then I encourage them to do more of that in the future. And so these classes every semester, if I'm lucky, because I try really hard, kind of build on each other, and I'm just sharpening this curriculum every time I teach. And then the cool thing about that is it helps me teach in other areas too.